When pain gets strong, you can't think. You can't reason. When pain gets strong, you can't figure things out. Sometimes we are so engrossed with pain that we don't get the point. You can have pain so bad that you lose your appetite. You can have pain so bad that you stop eating and you stop talking and you stop believing and you stop smiling and you don't have your personality because your pain is stopping you from being who you are. If you take a minute and look at your life, every time you're about to step into new territory, all hell breaks loose and sends a storm to stop you from getting there.
Don't waste your pain. We all go through disappointments, setbacks, loss. Pain is a part of life.
When things go wrong, they always seem to happen at once, and they just compound on top of each other. And it's pretty easy sometimes to feel beaten when you're faced with all those issues and all those problems, and they all hit you at the same time. But that doesn't mean give up. In fact, it means the opposite. It means it's time for you to fight harder, to dig in. It means it's time for you to go on the warpath.
We're all carrying things in our past. All of us are carrying these stories that are imposed by other people, by friends, by family, by society, by Instagram. And what happens is, when we are faced with a challenging situation, we approach it with all of that stuff. Some of you believe the stories that you've made up in your own head. The story of I'm not good enough. The story of I'm not academically inclined. The story of I'm not a morning person. The story of I can't really make new friends. The story of I can't really have an impact on the people around me. And now listen, I want to be abundantly clear. I'm not the guy that's going to come in here and tell you what stories to tell yourself, but I want you to get back to the place where you can start telling yourself better stories. Stories that you are enough, that you are charismatic enough, that you are courageous enough, that you aren't like them, and that's okay because you are like you. I believe when we stop believing the stories that we tell ourselves in our own heads, and start telling ourselves new stories, stories that are actually aligned with who we are and who we would like to become. That is when we are able to change ourselves and change the people around us.
It will be hard because life is hard. That's what life is. And these challenges that you face, they're going to do their best to take you down. Do not let them. Stand up, dig in, line up those problems and confront them, face them, fight them. Do not let them bring you down. In fact, let those challenges raise you up. Let them elevate you. Let their demands and their trials make you stronger. Let the adversity you face today turn you into a better person tomorrow. So in the future, you look back at these struggles and you say to them, you made me better.
I'm not saying to put yourself down. I'm saying listen to the truth. And the truth isn't in the 20%. The truth is in this other part of your brain saying, look, man, you're wasting a bunch of percentage here. In this other 80% is suffering, pain, failure, self-doubt, darkness, and then a whole bunch of light. It's not a magic trick. It's all back down to a very primitive mindset of we just have to do. It's like breathing. Breathing becomes normal. Like that's how you have to live your life. When that alarm clock goes off at 4 or 5 in the morning, your mind says no. You just say, this is what we do. It's what we do now. Because to get to where you want to go, the amount of pain involved, I'm not saying physical, I'm not saying you got to break yourself off. The amount of mental pain of how many times you're going to have to do something that you don't want to do to get to where you want to go. So then it's like breathing. And then once you do this over and over and over again, it becomes like breathing. I don't want to live this lifestyle, but to get to the other side of this, I have to.
So it's something we all got to pay attention to. There is a blessing in everything. Behind every moment of adversity in your life, there is a blessing and a lesson. Pain always leaves a gift. Always. God is a merciful God. He didn't bring you this far to leave you. He didn't set you up to fail. You're tripping, man. Even if you're wrong, he forgives us. Just keep moving, man. It ain't nothing. Now look, I've had some painful moments in this like you. But hey, I look for the bright side, man. I expect something good to happen.
Pain is a part of life. It's easy to get discouraged, think, why is this happening to me? But one of the best principles I've learned is don't put a question mark where God has put a period. One reason is we can't see the big picture for our lives. If you have a puzzle, on the front of the box, there's the picture. As a whole, it's fantastic, so beautiful. But if you were to take one piece and isolate it, you would think, look at this funny looking piece. It's not going to fit anywhere. It's an odd shape. But the fact is, that piece has a perfect place. When the other pieces come together, it will fit in. In the same way, sometimes we look at pieces in our lives that don't make sense. I lost a loved one. I'm going through cancer. This piece couldn't be a part of God's plan. But you have to trust that even in the painful times, God doesn't make any mistakes.
Many of you know that God will make things uncomfortable to get you out of your comfort zone, to put you in a place of purpose and destiny, to rise to the height of your calling and soar above your adversities and fly like the eagle you were created to be.
God never said that we would understand everything that happens along the way, but He did promise that it would all work out for our good. The key is what we do in our times of pain. Pain will change us. If you go through a divorce, a friend betrays you, eventually that will pass. You'll get through it, but you will be different. You can come out bitter, or you can come out better. You can come out defeated, giving up on your dreams, or you can come out with a new passion, excited about the new opportunities in front of you. My challenge, don't just go through it, grow through it. That difficulty is an opportunity to get stronger, to gain new confidence. Anybody can give up, but you know what that's doing? Wasting your pain. The scripture talks about how God is in control, not just of our lives, but He's in control of our enemies. The enemy may turn on the fire, but the good news is God has His hand on the thermostat. He knows what we can handle. If it was going to harm us rather than help us, God would have turned back the intensity. It's helpful to remind yourself, I may be in this fire, but I know who controls the temperature. The God who is for me and not against me. The God who takes pleasure in prospering me, He's in complete control. He's not going to let it defeat me. I may not like it, but I'm not a whiner. I know I can handle this. We've all heard the saying, no pain, no gain. If everything was always easy, we wouldn't be prepared for our destiny. Every struggle is making you stronger. Every painful time, even though you don't like it, it's developing something in you that can only be developed in the tough times. Without the pain, we couldn't reach the fullness of our destinies. We were not created to float through life on flowery beds of ease. Difficulties are a part of life. In those tough times, God is getting you prepared. Now quit telling yourself you can't take it. You're not weak. You are well able. The reason the fire is so hot is because God has something amazing in your future. See, God doesn't just randomly say, let me give them some pain to make their life miserable. There is a purpose for the pain. We may not always understand it, but I can tell you, if God allowed it, He knows how to bring good out of it. Now, I'm not going to just go through it, I'm going to grow through it. I'm going to keep a good attitude, knowing that this pain is leading to my gain. Sometimes we bring pain on ourselves. Get in a relationship we know is not good, or maybe get over our head in our spending. We're having to deal with the consequences. And God is full of mercy. He'll always give us the grace to get out of it. Be big enough to look back and say, okay, here's where I missed it. I ignored the warnings. I got out of God's time and got in a hurry. Not going to do that anymore. There's a lesson in the pain. A man I know has struggled with diabetes most of his life. I saw him recently. He looks better than ever. He said, Joel, that stay in the hospital was a wake-up call for me. I've changed my diet. I exercise every day. I feel like a new man. He learned the lesson. We talk a lot about letting go of the past. And yes, that's true. But another way to say it is remember the lesson. But if you go through a painful time and you don't come out with what you were supposed to learn, you're doing yourself a disservice. Don't keep repeating the same mistakes again and again. Are you struggling in a relationship because you keep saying everything you feel like saying? Here's a news flash: the pain will stop if you zip it up. Other times we experience pain that have nothing to do with our choices. We were doing the right thing in the wrong way. The scripture says, rain falls on the just and the unjust. There are forces of darkness trying to keep you from your destiny. Even though it's painful now, if you'll stay in faith, that will lead you toward your destiny. Take what was meant for harm and use it to your advantage. If you go through something you don't
Em đến nhẹ nhàng như cách em đi qua cái khảng lãng mạn như thi ca, khiến anh chẳng nhớ được gì cả, chỉ chút vừa vã anh ghi và em. Anh không biết được là đôi mình còn gần bên nhau bao lâu nữa. Nhiều lúc anh nghĩ hay thôi mình có lẽ là đừng yêu nhau nữa, vì cãi vã nhiều quá anh mệt lắm, chia tay nhiều quá anh mệt lắm. Tất cả ở em đều mệt lắm, nhưng rồi thời gian cũng hết năm. Em thì vẫn ở đó, vẫn nắm chặt tay, vẫn kể môi sát môi. Anh thì vẫn như vậy, vẫn nghệ sĩ nghèo chỉ có lời hát thôi. Em à, người ta mất nhau trong 2 tuần và ta xa nhau cũng 2 lần. Anh không có phải thằng khờ, cũng biết trái tim đâu đó đã phai dần. Phải cần một sự liều lĩnh để thấy mình còn luyến thương nữa không. Mình sống với nhau như vợ chồng, những tình thế này thì chưa giống. Bài nhạc anh viết vẫn chưa xong, liệu rằng ngày đó có cuốn dẫu không cách nào mang nắng về đêm đông, cũng không hái được sao trên trời kia đem xuống. Nhưng sau này có thể đưa em giữ hộ tiền lương, sau này có thể làm việc nhà nếu em lười. Nhân gian thường nói không tồn tại thiên đường, chắc do họ chưa từng nhìn thấy lúc em cười. Ấm áp tỏa sáng tựa vầng thái dương, kéo anh chuyển động tinh tiến ở xung quanh. Hoài ngày hạnh phúc nhất mà anh âm thầm mãi ước, ngày ta đứng trước linh mục và cùng sánh vai lại. Thêm lần nữa tuyên bố nhẹ, em về khuyên bố mẹ kén rể đi anh đến tuyển ngay. Dù ít tin tưởng vào duyên số, nhưng nếu em cho số đảm bảo mình nên duyên đấy. Từ khi gặp em Google hết tác dụng, bởi em là tất cả những gì anh cần tìm, giống một kho báu để ngăn người khác đụng tới. Đối đầu thế giới anh cũng sẵn sàng cân tim, ghét phải lặng im coi em như cô bạn. Nỗi nhớ đong đầy bao giờ mới khô cạn, khoảnh khắc bên nhau thời gian như ngừng trôi, vì em sở hữu sự hấp dẫn vô hạn. Yêu đơn phương cảm giác khó đọc tên, mọi thứ mù mịt giống như đứng trước bão. Mãi hy vọng chờ đợi ngóng trông đến ngày nụ hôn đó sẽ một lần được trao. Hương thơm ngọt ngào vương trên mái tóc em, gây nghiện cực mạnh anh ngày đêm ước áo. Quỳnh là loài hoa đẹp nhất trong bóng đêm, cuộc đời này u tối đang cần em bước vào. Đưa cho anh cái bản đồ vì anh sắp lạc bên trong đôi mắt kia. Hãy đưa cho anh cuốn từ điển vì cảm xúc này anh không thể cắt nghĩa. Chuẩn bị đưa anh khi say anh thường hãy nhắc về em, mong khỏa lấp những u tối. Khoảnh khắc về đêm nghe lại bài ca ngày xưa cũ, ta hát về nhau nhớ những giấc mơ ta từng ước. To tát về sau và đó là khi mà anh dần lụy là không làm chủ chính mình. Thấy không gian trở nên tồi tệ, mọi thứ bao phủ chính mình. Em đâu còn như điều anh mơ, anh cũng tự nhủ chính mình. Nhưng mà thôi em, nào ai giỏi mà đủ tính tình, chẳng thể vươn tới được cảnh cao dù anh có nhã ý trèo. Trong cơn say mọi thứ cuồng quay anh trở thành gã chí phèo. Yêu chân thành là không thay lòng dù em có như thị nở. Ý anh là em như cô tấm nhìn em như thị nở. Đêm vắng nàng ngón tay xám vàng vì đốt cả bao thuốc lá. Căn phòng chung khi xưa nồng ấm bây giờ sao bút giá. Một thói xấu mà anh đã quen khi em không ở bên lâu. Anh thì ngồi trong một góc tối nhậu suốt cả đêm thâu. Em mang con tim anh đi đâu, khiến anh mù quáng vẫn cố sáng mỗi khi đau. Em mang con tim anh đi đâu, điều gì choáng váng để xứng đáng ướp mi nhau. Em mang con tim anh đi đâu, khiến anh mù.
Don't waste your pain. Don't sit around feeling sorry for yourself. Go out and lift somebody else up.
That opposition, those obstacles that you will encounter, that's how you become stronger. And here's what I want to say to you. For those of you that have experienced some hardships, don't give up on your dream.